Hey everyone, it's Heather Nichols, and today I'm going to share how I created this card to celebrate Hanukkah. This card starts with our new Foil Hanukkah panels. These panels are ready to accept heat foiling with a laminator or mink machine, or you can use them as is. I'll be using the Bright Hanukkah dies to cut out some of the images on the panels. Not all of the dies match the images on the panels. The dies actually coordinate with the Bright Hanukkah stamp set. I'm using the Get the Word Out Happy stamp along with the coordinating die. I'm using the new On Repeat Hanukkah stamp, and this stamp coordinates with the On Repeat die. I'm using the A2 Thin Frames die. For foiling, I'm using blue and silver shattered glass Deco foil. The inks I'll be using are blue corn and blueberry, along with my blue blender brush. I'll be doing embossing, and so I have my VersaMark ink, my powder tool, and silver embossing powder. I'm adding splatters to my project with blue corn liquid watercolor and Copic opaque white ink, along with my water brush. The first thing I'm going to do is foil, so I have my Foil It Hanukkah panels here. I'm going to foil 2 of them. I'm using a mink machine and I have it set on 4 for the heat setting. I'm putting the panels inside the carrier that comes with the mink machine, and I have a piece of cardstock in there for stability. I cut the pieces of foil so they match my panels, and I'm going to lay those on top of the panels pretty side up. In other words, the dull side of the foil should be facing the panel. Once the foil is in place, you can close the carrier and send it through your machine. Let the machine grab it and let it go through. Don't push or pull it to make it go faster. I should also note that you can do this same technique with a heat laminating machine as well. Once your panels have gone through the machine, you can take them out and reveal the gorgeous foiled designs. Next, I took the panel that I foiled with the blue foil and I'm adding ink blending using blueberry ink and blue corn ink. I did sort of an all over with the blueberry ink, and then I went around with the blue corn ink, and I'm leaving kind of the area around the menorah the lighter shade of blue so it has a little bit more of a highlight around it. I'm adding splatters to the panel using blue corn liquid watercolor and also the Copic opaque white ink. I'll pick these up on a water brush and then tap the brush over my finger to add splatters to the panel. For the panel that's foiled with the silver shattered glass, I'm using the Bright Hanukkah dies to cut out some of the images from the panel. Not all of the images on the panel are going to match with the dies in this collection. There is a coordinating stamp set that has coordinating images, but there are lots of images on the panel that you can cut out with the die. I'm lining up the dies over the images that match, holding them in place with removable Scotch tape, and sending them through my die cut machine to cut them out. I'm conditioning a piece of blueberry cardstock with my powder tool, and I'll be stamping the Get the Word Out Happy word and also the On Repeat Hanukkah stamps onto the cardstock with VersaMark ink. Once I have the stamps arranged where I want them on the cardstock, I will close the lid of the MISTI to pick up the stamps. I'll ink up my stamps with VersaMark ink and then close the lid of the MISTI and use my Just Press tool to stamp the images onto the cardstock. To emboss the sentiments, I'll sprinkle silver embossing powder over the stamped sentiments, and then I will tap off the extra onto a piece of scratch paper. Then I'll use my heat tool to melt the embossing powder until it is nice and shiny. Next, I cut the sentiments out with the dies. I just trimmed this apart so I can use my Sidekick machine. I lined the die up around the Get the Word Out Happy, and I'll send that right through the die cut machine, and then I'll use the alignment guides on the On Repeat die and cut out the On Repeat Hanukkah sentiments. Next, I'm adding a thin frame around the background panel that I cut out from silver foil cardstock with the A2 Thin Frames die. I'm adding foam squares to the back of the menorah that I cut out from the silver shattered glass foiled panel, and I'm going to be attaching it right over the top of the menorah on the background. I did use my scissors with the foam squares and trim them so I could fit them on the back of the candles on the menorah. I adhered the happy underneath the menorah using foam squares as well. I used sticky strips on the back of one of the little Hanukkahs from the On Repeat Hanukkah to add that right underneath the happy. I added a few other images that I cut out from that silver foiled panel onto the card. I just added them using my tape runner. I have a few leaves on each side of the happy and then the stars at the bottom of the card. I'm adding the panel to a blueberry card base with my tape runner, and then this card is done. I love how this card turned out, and I love all of the sparkle and shine from the foiling with the Foil It Hanukkah panels. You can find the supplies that I used to create this card and our other new Hanukkah products at tailoredexpressions.com. Thanks so much for joining me, everybody, and I'll see you next time.